Welcome to the Geeks Assembled podcast. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Yes.
Rock on.
Hello, we are Geeks Assembled and we have gathered here again today. And today it's Doctor Who night and we are going to talk about John Pertwee's story, The Daemons. And let's start off, let's go to Beef Dad. Beef Dad, what do you make of this story?
Well, of course, I watched it when it first aired, live on a Saturday evening. I loved it. I love this one. There's a lot of fun in it. There's just so many brilliant performances from Roger Delgado playing the Master, or the Magister, as he is known in this. Yeah, it's just extraordinary. And Miss Hawthorne, the White Witch, she is just magical. And of course, John Pertwee is great in this. He's sort of very controlled, and of course, this is like many of the John Pertwee era. There's no TARDIS. The TARDIS does not appear at all. But Katie Manning is playing Jo Grant, the companion in this. She's just brilliant. She really is brilliant. As I said, there's so many good performances, and I can't think of a weak point in it. I must confess, the little demon, the Bok, the statue that is brought to life, little demonic statue that's brought to life, really that made me laugh so much. But yeah, the bit where the demon himself, big, nasty and hairy with cloven feet, leaves footprints across the countryside, and the filming of that from above was just absolutely brilliant. I loved it.
Speaking of big, nasty and hairy, we shall go to... Oh, Lee isn't here. Let's go to Stephen Price instead. That's a good... That's a good
I'm not hairy.
This has got to be my favourite Doctor Who episode of all time. I just love this episode.
Stephen, I love you.
It is...
I don't like Alex.
It's just plain awesome, it is.
I thought you could say awful then. I thought
No! The writing is brilliant, how dark it was, and the acting, the one-liner jokes in it. Pure brilliance. Brilliantly written and all. And I'll tell you my favourite parts later on.
Yep, let's go to Ethan. You've seen the story before, haven't you, Ethan?
Oh yeah, loads of times. One of the best Doctor Who stories ever to me, and definitely one of the best Master stories ever, if not the very best Master story. I mean, Roger Delgado in this, he's the best Master. He is. The older I've gotten, I just love him more than the others. I love John Sim and I love Anthony Ainley, but his Master, to me, is the best supervillain ever to me. I could love all these other villains, but to me, he is the best villain. And Roger Delgado just had suave, sophistication, smoothness, evil, and his performance is great. That's my favorite disguise as well. Him as the vicar, the Magister. It is my favorite disguise of all time he does. It's brilliant. The White Witch, as Beef Dad said, she's such a magical, beautifully spoken woman, and just the whole style of her was great. John Pertwee himself, what a doctor. You can't go wrong with him. You really can't go wrong with him. And all that series where you got a lot of the Master. So this was the last one of that series. I think it was series 8. That was the last story, but all of them were the Master. I just couldn't get enough of him, the Master, that Master anyway. But no, it had horror, it had suspense, it had black magic, science, and the villain in this, Azrael, it was just great. Just a very original villain, and all the scenes were just so great. And yeah, Bok really made me laugh just when he appears with his tongue sticking. His tongue sticking out. He really does. That's the one bit that just made me laugh. But no, this one is just perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Somehow I don't think that bit is meant to make you laugh, but it does.
No, it doesn't. But probably back then it wouldn't have made you laugh. But the fact he has his tongue sticking out just...
You do a very good impression, actually. I'm sorry you didn't like Roger Delgado and the Easy Worst Master, but you can't like them all. Let's go to... Let's go. No, we're not going to you, Alex. No. Get the microphone back to Susan. I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, Roger Delgado was perfect as the Master. There's almost no times that he's cackling and laughing. As much as I like John Sim as an actor, and as much as I enjoyed the campiness of Anthony Ainley, it went too far. But it was also a different era. Yeah, Roger Delgado, he, as far as I'm aware, he was Spanish. He has perfect English, very suave. He's better than a politician. And that actually makes it worse. I mean, it's amazing. Not only did he have a good master, and he was friends with John Pertwee in real life, who I guess now has confirmed that he was also a spy. So there's irony of irony. And most of the British people have called this, the James Bond version of Doctor Who, because he had all the inventions. He had to come up with something because they didn't have the TARDIS to lean back on. And this was also the era where you had a lot of the Master coming in, but you didn't have as much of the Time Lords as well. But it's the fact that he is so smooth. I mean, he's better than a politician. So it sort of reminds me of how in the 80s they went back to a lot of series like that about politicians and working in the government. And I said, gee, this Master, he should have worked for the government. I mean, he would have been excellent. But, yeah, I mean, it is a little overlong, and the John Pertwee stories are, but I can say that after watching what seemed like centuries of Tom Baker, not that it's bad, it was good to see, a different era, and he's very serious. I mean, he was a comedian for most of his TV career, John Pertwee, I guess, but he plays it so serious. And it was interesting, too, the chemistry that he has with the companions. And, yeah, and it also, Liz as well in the beginning. Liz Shaw, yeah. Well, no, but what I'm saying is it's right on the cusp. It's right on the cusp of being a full drama, even though it wasn't given credit for being a drama. And then you have, unfortunately, dodgy special effects because they had no budget. But you also had wonderful villains. So that's the interesting thing about the John Pertwee era. He plays it serious. You have a wonderful villain. You have interesting companions. And you don't have so many Daleks until the last few seasons anyway. But it's very interesting. They play it very serious. You also, of course, have Unit and the Brigadier, who was great. And you have his, what is it, Sergeant Benton, and who else? Who else was it? Sergeant Benton and
Mike Yates.
And I mean, it's interesting also with them.
And Sergeant Osgood.
Osgood? I thought that was
He
the
was the guy who built the machine.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it's also interesting too how this doctor has tattoos. But in any case,
Okay, let me talk.
but it's but I mean it's
we
great
don't know
era.
what to do, actually.
You mentioned the Brigadier. Let me talk.
Haven't seen him.
Okay. Alex opened a kettle of fish. Oh my gosh. The Brigadier, let me tell you, he shows up in this thing in his dress reds, the dress reds of someone who is going out for an evening as a representative of his of Unit and of the Scots Guard, and it's breathtaking. I'm sorry, honey, it's just absolutely breathtaking. He's gorgeous in that, and then he goes away, and Mike and Benton have to take his chopper. Get to the chopper. No, I'm just kidding. That's not what it said. It was like they took his helicopter and to go to this village where this master and this demon are coming together and building this evil plot. And so Ben and Yates had to take the initiative to save the day at that time. And then so later in the I think it's the second episode, suddenly the Brigadier is in bed and they call him up and they say, and he's like, well, why don't you just talk to Benton and Yates? And the Brigadier says, why don't you call them and Joe? And the person on the phone says, I guess that they've taken your chopper. And he's like, they've taken my helicopter? And he kind of sits up, and it's just like, it's really funny. But it's the Brigadier in bed, and so that's kind of amazing. And so then the Brigadier goes to the thing, and he has Osgood build the machine, and he doesn't know how to get around, and so that's how they discover that there's this big heat barrier. But what's really funny is that this was filmed on a super cold winter's day, and it was snow on the ground ahead of time. And so here these poor special effects guys are out trying to clear all the snow and then build a heat barrier and show that it's like super hot. And the Brigadier had to just use his assertive stick to test it, and it catches fire, and then he loses it. So for the next episode, he doesn't have that. So it's just interesting that he goes through this this science and to try and actually lend help to the people of this village, and to overcome Azael. And Azael was an amazing Stephen Thorne, the guy who played Omega, the guy who played with like all these amazing baddies. He's there in full demon gear. We just reviewed Hellboy, but the first Hellboy was Azael, and he went from a little guy all the way up to this great big guy. And I agree, the Benton and Yates looking down on his footprints across the landscape, and after seeing the camera work going above, going like this and this and this, it was crazy cool, like that little thing. And then the Brigadier and his best line ever, a really good line anyway. Jenkins, chap with wings there, 5 rounds rapid. And he's trying to kill this thing made of stone. And that's kind of admirable. I mean, it isn't exactly doable, but you know, this is something he's going to try anyway. So yeah, all I can say is about Unit's time with the Doctor is, well, besides the fact that Pertwee is freaking amazing. I love him. I love him so much. He's really cool. And is the Brigadier. And so, yeah, that's pretty much my whole opinion on this. And I hope I haven't talked too much about the Brigadier. but
No.
If we do more Unit era fixtures, you're gonna get more Brigadier because it just comes, you know, out of my heart.
If anybody is new to this, to watching this, well, why are you still watching? Susan is a bit of a Brigadier fan, aren't you? See, we can safely say that you like a bit of Brig, don't you? You like a bit of the Brigadier. And I have to say, in this story, Unit's great in this story. Unit's great. I love everything about this story. I don't have a favourite moment. I don't have a favourite scene. I don't have a favourite character because I love them all. It's John Pertwee's era at its best. And it's one of John Pertwee's best stories. And I love John Pertwee. John Pertwee is my favourite Doctor. I don't think there will ever be an era as good as John Pertwee had. Now, I think Tom Baker did extremely well, but towards the end, it went dodgy, didn't it? Let's be honest. He stayed too long.
I agree. Yeah.
John
definitely.
Pertwee had consistency after consistency with episodes, and I know there's one or two bad ones. I do know there's one or two that aren't.
The trouble with Tom Baker's episodes was there wasn't enough Brigadier.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah, because the Brigadier and Unit was the third Doctor's family, and the Brigadier, Nicholas Courtney, was so amazing, and he is so amazing, and it's really, really sad that he's no longer with us and that he never came in to the new series. Apart from the Sarah Jane Adventures, I do know he was in that. So at least he was in that. But I wish the Brigadier was still in the show today because he brings so much character and he's so well loved. He's a lovable character. And the whole of the Unit team, really. I mean, Yates and Benton and all the others, they're just great. And I love the White Witch in this one. Roger Delgado is absolutely amazing as the master.
Even his daughter was great. Unfortunately, I didn't like it in the new era where he was Cyberbrig. That really got me mad.
No,
I'm not as big a fan of the Brigadier as Susan is. But when you turn him into a Cyberman, that just ruins it.
I thought that was disrespectful. But
Katie Manning, I met Katie Manning, and she said that's an excellent tribute to him.
Oh, really? I love Joe in this, by the way. I love Joe as a companion anyway. I always love Joe. I love whatever episode Joe is in. She's amazing. I just love Joe. I love Sarah Jane more, but I still love Joe Grant. I think she's amazing, and I was so happy when she came back into the Sarah Jane Adventures. That was so awesome. She's brilliant in that. Yeah, Roger Delgado is amazing, and this is the first time an episode ends with the Master in peril. No, this is the only time. This is the only time that an episode ends with the Master in danger. Only time. There's not another episode where it ends and the Master's in danger. So that is that. Yeah, this episode's just fantastic. I love the film crew and everything, all that. The settings are great. I love the fact that Pertwee's era was on Earth mostly, because I think actually that's when Doctor Who works best. I know people want it to go out into space, but it doesn't always work the best when it's out in space. Let's go. Who else wants to speak? Because I could ramble on forever.
I mean, of course, isn't this Barry Lett's era as well? And that he even came back for what, 4 episodes of the Fourth Doctor, and they brought back the teacher from the first series, but even though she was in a different role. But I mean, it was funny. Yeah.
No. Oh, you mean
Barbara Wright.
Barbara Wright
Jacqueline
character,
Hill.
Jacqueline Hill.
Jacqueline Hill? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, I mean, again, I've seen the documentaries where they admit, it's, they have to do the tropes because also they're expecting it. But they did do a good job. The only problem was sometimes the editing and the computer effects weren't good. But I do know a lot of people, especially around 40, 50, and 60, that say, oh, yeah, I remember the one about the maggots, the Green Death, and other, so they know the third and the fourth Doctor. And sometimes
you can't go on special effects, Alex, because then you could bash anything in the past. Because if you think about it, even the latest things out now, 30 years' time, you'll be saying how rubbish the things are now. Let's go to Beef Dad because he wants to say something.
Bit of information for Alex. About the Roger Delgado. His father was Spanish. His mother was French. He was born in Whitechapel, within the sound of Bow Bells, which makes him a Cockney. And so he was.
No, and I understand he's an Englishman.
Yeah. Damaris Heyman played Portia in The White Witch. She did many, many things on television. She did lots of comedy shows. And I seem to remember that she was in more than one Doctor Who episode, apart from more than one Doctor Who story. And yes, Mike Yates, Sergeant Benton. I'm so lucky. I should be meeting Joe Grant, Mike Yates, Sergeant Benton in October. So I'm quite looking forward to that.
Do they know?
Well, Katie Manning does.
Yeah, you better watch out because Katie Manning might not turn up. She might go to the wrong place.
Yeah.
Oh no, she's quite looking forward to it.
No, I
was going to meet her, and she ended up going to the wrong place. That's a long story.
Yeah. I did meet John Levine, and I could have met John Pertwee, and I'm sorry that I was too busy. He was right across the street, and I should have tried harder to.
Wait. He was right across the street.
Yeah, he was he was in the building in Boston, right across the street. And I was at the gym, and I should have stopped and went over.
I did meet John Pertwee. I did meet John Pertwee. I was in a shop in Victoria, and I was walking out. And as I was walking out, he was walking in, and I bumped into him.
Oh, that must have been.
He was very, very tall. And I was quite young. I was just an apprentice then, so I was in my teens, and I was not very tall. And I sort of looked up at him, and I said, "You're very tall." And he sort of looked down at me, gave me a small little smile, and said, "Well, I practice a lot." And then shook me by the hand, and then went off to do his shopping. Really nice man. Really nice man, very funny. But a little bit of... There was a character in this called Jones, who was one of the villagers. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yes. And he was played by Matthew Corbett, who ended up... he was Harry Corbett's son, and you know who he is. He was the man with Sooty. I'm sorry, that's a nudist, Sooty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yes, and Matthew Corbett took over from his father when his father died
That's right.
with Sooty.
Yeah. Matthew Corbett was my era, but I do remember reruns of Harry, but Matthew Corbett was my era, but that's right, yeah.
And I remember Harry Corbett because I'm ancient.
Well, and of course, slightly off topic, but isn't Sean Pertwee in Gotham now?
Yes.
His son, yep.
Yeah, and the thing is, there are moments when you think to yourself, my God, the similarity between John Pertwee at that age and his son now is just absolutely extraordinary.
Well, he dressed up as him a few years ago, didn't he? And he looked a spitting image.
Yeah, well, that was years ago. But I mean, now he is so much more like his father was at this period. It would be extraordinary.
I know. I was watching a few episodes of Gotham, and I said, God, this is a little creepy. I feel a little bit of Doctor Who coming in.
I'm so glad
I'm not watching the same show, but...
I'm so glad I'm not the only one who thinks this, because I've always said to my friends who are Doctor Who fans, wouldn't it be great if they...
No, Ethan, don't even say it. Let's move on.
All right.
Don't even. I'm telling you why. Don't even say it, because look what they did with William Hartnell's Doctor.
Okay, fair
Completely
point.
Fast on him. No, don't do it. Ruin, because they can't help themselves with shoving, well, stuff in there that shouldn't be there into the character, which was never there.
Let's just say, if they didn't do any of that, it would be nice. But you know what I was about to say? If they didn't do all the stupid adding and the rubbish and all that, it would be pretty cool. Let's be honest, because he looks so much like his dad. And the similarities were just amazing.
Oh, you could easily have him, like when they did the 50th, they could have easily had him in there. Couldn't they? Dressed up as his dad. But he doesn't like Doctor Who, does he? That's the thing. Because he says that it took his dad away from him, which is really sad. But I can understand that.
He never said that. He said that he wouldn't. He really liked the show, and he really liked. I mean, as a kid, he struggled with it, but as a man who's receiving from the legacy of his father. He really honors that, and he really honors the show for that. I mean, anymore you hear him praise it more than, run it down in interviews or whatever. So that's just today, though. As a kid, probably, but as an adult, no.
Alex is desperate to speak.
I mean, John Pertwee has, if you look sorry, Stephen. Did you want to speak, Stephen?
Yeah, Sean Pertwee said in an interview that his father would be in hysterics if he became the Doctor.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
If you search the internet as well, it's interesting. He has a lot of photographs, but he also has photographs with American TV celebrities, and he also had some pictures with, and we did a review of this, the first cast of the Tomorrow People as well. But I mean, of course, that that's the other thing as well that we don't think about is, just because we see them on TV doesn't mean they didn't go through an audition process. Doesn't mean that they're doing, they could be doing conventions or other things. And yeah, if they have kids, maybe they suffered a little bit, unless they could always take them, with them to conventions and to the set. Even Vincent Price's daughter said that she missed a little bit of time, but he tried to bring her onto the set while he was filming all the 10 billion, it seems like, movies. Not that I don't love it, but she said that, tried to bring her along on some of the sets while he was filming.
Anyone else have anything to add on the story, Demons?
Yes, Lethbridge Stewart, when he asked the guy who was doing our things so they could break through, he said, "Oh, it'll be only a couple of minutes." The next minute, it went bang, and you could see all his eye. Oh, it's going to take half an hour. And then later on, Lethbridge Stewart says to him, "I should have worked in the bank."
Yeah, the brig had the funny lines, that's for sure.
Oh, the brig was amazing in this. No one's mentioned the Morris dancing.
And the part where Pertwee and Joe was in the pub, and one guy says to him, he says, "Are you wearing a wig or something?"
Oh yeah, no, that was funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to jump in? No. Well, we're going to go to final say and score, and since Beef Dad is unmuted, we'll go to Beef Dad first. Yes, that's seriously right.
Yeah, okay. Well, as I say, Demons, it's got to be one of my favourites of the John Pertwee years, I must confess. Because of the, not just for John, but his supporting cast were absolutely incredible in this. For me, it gets a 10.
10. And Alex, do you remember the conversation we had before this cast started? Do you cast your mind back
Oh dear, a little bit of peer
15
pressure.
hours ago before Susan started mentioning the Brigadier? 15 hours ago.
Yeah, no.
Do
it
you
wasn't
remember
15
what we
hours ago.
discussed? When are you going to give your final say and score?
I'm going to give it a 9, but I do like other stories of the Pertwee era. But like you said, it's it's a great cast. It does have a lot of characters. It's very somewhat realistic. There is some parts that the demon and the parts in the church, and there was sort of that little bit of an ending before the Morris dancing. It was slightly corny, but
I love the
again,
Morris
it
dancing.
was right. But again, this was like I mentioned before, people have even mentioned John Pertwee for the other stories that he did, and it is a great era of Doctor Who. He tried a lot of things. He played it very serious. You have great villains. You have humanoid villains as well, which adds to it being scary. You have a lot of like the psychedelic aliens in the claws of Axos with the Master again as well. So it's not a perfect story, but it's close to it. And it was a great era of Doctor Who, and it was great to watch it. To have other doctors you could watch besides just Tom Baker. Excuse me.
Alex, you paid no attention to what I said before the cast, did you?
Alan, he never gives anything a 10.
I was making
he's never ever given anything a 10.
I was being fair. I said 9.9. I was being fair. That's not a 10. 9.9, Alex.
No, I'm sorry. I can't be pressured into it.
All right, well, I'll give it a 20 out of 10 just because, the Brigadier.
Why not 100?
Anyway, have
I thrown you off? Sorry.
20 out of 10 and a little red coats and hearts. Right.
You really loved the brig in this, did you?
Yeah. He was rather fetching in his red coat, and he was in bed.
That's got to be one of the best answers.
Let's go to Ethan since he's unmuted himself for some reason.
Like you, Alan, I don't have a favorite scene or whatever. The whole episode, the whole story is one of my favorites. Everything from John Pertwee, Roger Delgado, this just him as the master. If I wanted an arch enemy, it would be this master in particular. But
No, I don't want an arch enemy at all.
no, because you want to play the villain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the evil queen, preferably.
I was about to say the evil queen.
If there's a reboot of Once Upon a Time,
You're the one for the role.
Bring me up.
Yeah. But definitely for this story, you could pull it off.
No, I'm not pulling it off now. No.
I better give my score quickly. For this story in particular, I'm going to be honest. I'm actually giving it 40 out of 40. I really.
That's the same as 10 out of 10, though.
Yeah, but it's more than 10. It's more than 10 out of 10. This story deserves a lot more. It deserves a lot more stars.
Give me strength. That's the same as 10 out of 10. 40 out of 40. That's the same as 10 out of 10.
All right, then. 40 out. All right, we'll rephrase that. 40 out of 10.
No, that's just ridiculous.
Oh, shit.
No, he's being silly.
Oh, shit. It's one of the best, one of the greatest, and probably my favourite John Pertwee story.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Let's go to Stephen Price, who's definitely not from Swansea and definitely not a Tom Jones fan. Stephen Price.
I'm not from Scotland either.
No, and not from, and you're not from LA, you're not from Africa,
No.
you're not from New Zealand.
Massachusetts.
No, not from Massachusetts, not from Germany.
Well, this episode gets 1,000 out of 1,000 for me. It is totally brilliant. And any Doctor Who fans that have never seen this episode, I tell them to watch it. It is best episode ever.
Yeah, but Stephen, there's a problem with that because if they're not a Doctor, if they're a Doctor Who fan and they've not seen this episode, then let's be honest, they're not really a Doctor Who fan, are they?
No.
Let's keep it real here. If you haven't seen stories like this, you can't claim you're a Doctor Who fan. Oh, you might like Doctor Who, you might watch it, don't mean you're a fan. I'm sorry, there's a few rules around here when it comes to the...
Yeah,
well said.
Some have just watched the episodes when it came back in 2005, and they haven't watched what's come before.
And they think they're fans.
But they can rectify the situation. They can get the DVD and they can totally
exactly. Get the DVD. If you haven't seen it, get the DVD. It's definitely worth it. The John Pertwee era is, as everybody knows, and I tell everybody, is my favourite era of Doctor Who. John Pertwee is my favourite Doctor. And this is one of his best episodes. And trust me, he has amazing episodes. Like, nearly all of his episodes are my favourite episodes, full stop. And this is one of them. Alex, where's that finger going?
Well, no, I said, no, easy now.
Don't you put a negative on this, Alex.
There's only 2 stories that he's missing, right? John Pertwee. But they found him again. The ambassadors are there.
Yeah, they're not missing now. Yeah, they're not missing now, yeah. Yeah. But thanks for that, Alex, for throwing me off.
By the way, Alid, what's the special features? There is a second disc?
Yes, there is a second disc, yes.
Yeah, I forgot what the special features were, no?
Well, on the second disc, oh God, I'm going to have to... Do you know what? I got 2 booklets in this one as well for some reason. It came with 2 booklets. So, there we go. It's got I know it's got a documentary where they go back to see it being filmed. Yeah, the devil rides out, remembering Barry Letts, location filming. It's got Tomorrow's World, colorization, test. Yeah. It's also got obviously the commentary and stuff like that. Yeah. Why haven't you got you got it on DVD?
Yeah, I got it on DVD. I just I've never watched the special features. I forgot about it.
Stephen Price.
I know.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Finally, I'm going to get to my score.
I have watched them a few years ago. Just forgot about them. I have to rewatch them.
Well, Stephen Price gave it 1,000 out of 1,000.
Mm.
I'm going to give it 1,001 out of 1,001. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody here for joining me. I'd like to thank you for watching. Don't forget to tell us how amazing this episode is and John Pertwee is in the comment box below. Look after yourself. Take care. They know where the comment box is, Ethan. Don't worry. When I say below, they know where they're going.
That's fine. Just making sure.
You're just poking Beef Dad's head now. You're just poking Beef.
Oh, sorry.
He's not complaining. Look after yourself. Take care. And we will see you next time.
Oh dear, what am I talking about again? Oh yes, Doctor Who, the Demons. My opinion, and my opinion only, one of Pertwee's best. It's also, I think, De Galdo's best as well, to be honest. And it's so what the subject matter of the thing as well, you know, witchcraft, black magic, dark arts, Britain. And you say you got the unit family there as well. You got Mike Yates, Benton, Joe Grant, and Bessie, of course. But it's for a 5-part. I mean, because for me, I always say 4 parts is long enough. But this is a 5-part story. Works so well. There's never a dull moment in this. I mean, you know, it starts off with, you know, the storm, the rain, and all like that. You're thinking you're watching a horror movie at the beginning of it, but it's wonderfully done. And then you've got Stephen Thorne, we all know as the original Omega, but playing as Al. It's just straight away voice, and that's just brilliantly done. And also, this story has got the best, for me, the best Brigadier line in Doctor Who history. For me, chap with wings, 5 rounds rapid. I just love that. And also, you've a Private Osgood. Now, I'm not up on all the new Who stuff, but wasn't there an Osgood in the new unit family? Now, are they related? Who knows? Has it ever been confirmed? Who knows? But yeah, it's I like this one. I mean, you can't go wrong with Doctor Who and some Morris dancers, in my opinion. You've got, I think, if I had my way, you'd have Morris dancers in every story. Look at this. Beef Dad, can't it? But yeah, it's good. For me, one of Pertwee's best. And what can you give this? I'm giving this a 10. I absolutely love this one. I always, if I ever get a chance, I always get down. This is the first one of Pertwee's I always get off the shelf if I want to watch a Pertwee one. Doctor Who, the Demons. It's a 10 from me. Over to you.